everyone. Happy Sunday. This is Simon with AvaTrade. Welcome to our weekly webinar. And I hope you really enjoyed the eventful week. And last meeting we had, I said that we should be prepared for the week of high volatility and great moves. And that's what happened. We'll be going through the last week actions. I will try to analyze what we spoke about last week. And then we'll discuss the upcoming week events and possible scenarios. I want to welcome new people, of course, a special welcome for you. And this webinar pretty much says it all on the title, your weekly trading plan. What we do here, we're just trying to create a plan, create structure, be more organized, and hopefully more successful this way. As the traders like to say, you plan your trade and then you trade your plan. So that just creates or adds more discipline and more structure and more organized trading. Few things about myself. This is me, Simon Friedman. I'm a senior account manager with AvaTrade. My overall trading career, it will be 23 years in June. I started as a proprietary licensed trader back in New York, and I did it for about 11 years, full-time day trading proprietary, and then I moved on to trade in a different way, and I started to mentor and educate other traders. And I love to work with customers with AvaTrade, and I try to do my best to really share my knowledge and experience with our traders. The agenda of the webinar, pretty much the same every week. We talk about indices, stocks, commodities, and Forex or currencies. These are the channels that I highly recommend that you connect to. You have Telegram, Twitter, and of course, as I always say, my favorite one, the YouTube channel, where you can find a lot of new information on a regular basis. That includes a lot of educational material, tutorials, and most, if not all, webinars are being recorded and posted to YouTube in case you missed the live presentation. And a risk warning, you can find full document at avatrade.com, and everything we do here is purely educational, as you understand. Now, I'm going to start with these slides really quick, prepared right here. And it's from MarketWatch. It's a fresh article. You can read it. And that's something that kind of in line with what I think. You know, anywhere you go, doesn't matter what countries, prices are not really going lower. They're going higher for everything. And it says right here, don't tell Americans the economy is getting better. They're still worried about a recession. And the poll shows here that actually 87% are worried about inflation and 80% expect a recession. And again, speaking of recession, some say already we are in recession for a while, some not. So that's the matter of perception. So just wanted to bring it up. And the calendar, okay? And again, as always, for new people especially, I take the economic calendar only with the high impact events, otherwise it's going to be a lot. You can filter them, you can see specific countries or areas that you're trading in. And what I do here, as I said, the high impact events I bring out. And is it important to follow up economic calendar? You have to decide it for yourself. The way I look at it, I like to collect information. I like to know ahead of time the certain things are happening. And something that happened on Friday, we'll talk about in a moment, or NFP numbers, or any series announcements and numbers that are coming out. I want to be prepared. I don't want to be caught off guard. So Sunday retail sales from New Zealand, Monday, as we spoke last week, the new nominee that takes position in April, I think it's April 8th, but he has a speech. He has a speech on Monday, and it's definitely important because they, as I mentioned last week, they really expecting him to be more hawkish and maybe finally start squeezing the yen to the upside by increasing interest rate. So we'll see what he has to say. It's more than a month before he's getting appointed, and I guess we'll hear more details about it. Durable goods from US. Tuesday, retail sales from Australia, GDP numbers Switzerland, GDP numbers from Canada, GDP numbers on Wednesday from Australia, and CPI numbers, inflation. They're expecting the inflation to go lower, as you could see here. This is the current, this is what they expect. Manufacturing PMI from China, also important number. Shows they're expecting it to be below 50, which is not so positive. Bank of England is speaking on Wednesday as well. CPI numbers from Germany, manufacturing PMI from US, consumer price index, excuse me, consumer price index from Europe. Sorry, I just took a sip of water. And a service PMI from US. So these are the things that we are to expect the announcements or economic calendar events in the upcoming week. Now, if you remember last week, I showed you the 10-year yields as they were moving higher, and we said that 3.9 could be resistance, and dollar was going high, and gold was selling on this, and equities were suffering as well. So take a look. This week, we did break through it. Then we had a little correction, and we hit the highs on Friday, and we retraced a little bit. We're still closed on 10-year yields at 395, below the previous resistance, super bullish. And we'll take a look when we get there at gold and actually other metals and the currencies, with the US dollar being stronger and other major currencies are selling off. Okay, so let's move to the MT4. And I just want to go through things that we spoke about last week and see actually what happened. So we spoke about the indices really having downside pressure. We spoke about China. And let's take a look at China really quick. Take a look. The last day of the week, it really sold. We'll go through the indices when we spoke about the upcoming week. I just want to run really quick to what we're saying. We also said about the two indices that made new highs. That's the UK FTSE and the French index. As you could see this week, they're sold out. We spoke about a few stocks. We spoke about Apple and Pfizer and Boeing. Let's take a look really quick. So we had Apple after Warren Buffett announcing that they bought more stock in the fourth quarter. Initially, the stock moved up, but this week, with the market going down, Apple as well went lower. Boeing was very, very strong, and this week is finally start catching up with the market, went lower. We spoke about Pfizer, that potentially they were saying that the stock could be very cheap or attractive at these price levels. We were holding after that announcement, but then we sold with the market. We're coming to this support here. And so these are the things that we spoke about last week. We spoke about Apple, Boeing. I'm just trying to see what else. Chevron and Exxon Mobil with the oil. Chevron continues selling. Friday just bounced on the oil bouncing. And Exxon Mobil is really held. It didn't really sell that much. So we spoke about these guys. We spoke about natural gas. We'll be going into it really quickly in a moment. So natural gas, finally, it looks like we had the 3 consecutive sessions to the upside. We're facing resistance, and I'll talk about it in more details when we get there. We spoke about softies that they sold after the previous week move, and they continued. And the leader to the downside was wheat. Corn went down, soybean went down as well. And we spoke about coffee and cocoa. They continue higher, but then the last 2 days they sold a little bit. We'll get there in a moment. And we spoke about gold and the dollar. So as the yields continue climbing, the dollar regained strength, and gold sold out. So we'll get there in a moment. So this week, basically the key moment of last week, and everything is in line of Feds really getting to do more work on being more hawkish, or being more aggressive in interest rates. There was a Friday report we had. That's core personal consumption expenditures. That's something that the Feds are really, really looking at. So month over month, it went higher than expected. That the expected 0.4%, it was 0.6%. And for January, year over year, also, there were, last time was 4.6. They were expecting it lower at 4.3, and even went higher than the last time, 4.7. And that what spooked the markets to the downside. I just want to show you really quick the action at the announcement. This is right here. As you could see, at 1:30 p.m. GMT time, when the announcement came. Into the announcement, we were already selling all the indices, and that just intensified that. And we continue making a low on the day. We hit what, 39.50, even lower. The low here was 39.47.5, and then towards the end of the day, we tried to recover a little bit, and we actually almost went to pre-announcement level, similar to what over here happened in the previous announcement. So it looks like all the latest data showing that the inflation is not giving up easily, at least, and the Feds will be focusing on that, and we having more potential increases or more aggressive increases that are coming up this year. So let's go really quick through indices. We started with China. Let's take a look again. On China, this 13,500 level has been really, really busy. We held here, we went higher, went below, went higher again, and this whole week the China index was selling, and we closed at the lows on Friday with a really intense sell-off over here. Now with China, as you know, two things I bring up right away, and if you remember, we spoke about copper, that last week it didn't catch up with China. This week it really caught with it. 3 days, it lost a lot, pretty much went from 421 to below 395. We closed 395.15. Huge sell-off on copper. Now what's next here? We'll go in a moment when we get to commodities. I wanted to bring it up. So China, sell-off. Hong Kong, sell-off right into the 200 moving average here. Let's see if this level will hold. Nikkei actually had to move up in the past two sessions. European indices, let's try to look at them. As you remember, we just went through it. We had FTSE making historical highs, and then this week we sold a little bit, not that heavily, but let's see what's next over here. Let's see French first before DAX. French index Friday really caught up with US market selling. It really sold. It give away the previous three sessions of gains, even more if you count the beginning of this move. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7 days of trading was erased in 1 day on Friday. So it just shows you that global markets really sold out on Friday. DAX, the same thing. We're really fluctuating around these levels over here, and finally we sold on Friday, and we sold close to the lows here. So that's as far as indices. Let's take a look really quick at Nifty. Nifty, after this slow partial recovery, hitting the 50 and 100 moving average, we just sold the whole week, and we touched the 200 moving average, and it looks like we have a little bit something they called a double bottom, and this is a serious level here, and also 200 moving average. So we might hold here on Nifty, or if we do break and start building below this support, we might actually see continuation to the downside. And on the weekly chart, it looks even better as it's trying to break through the lows. And if you draw the trend line here, we actually broke through it a while ago, and we are on the way down. So we'll be watching Nifty and possible continuation. Of course, it will depend for the local events and news, and definitely for the global markets, which are experiencing tremendous downside pressure. So that's as far as indices. Let's move to individual stocks. I will start with Tesla. Tesla had a nice run. I think this recent run went as high as 214, 215, and then with the market selling, we came below 200 psychological level. It wasn't a heavy sell-off, but the fact is the fact we're up below 200. So let's see what the market is doing next. Well, let's see how Tesla will react to it. One of the stocks that caught my attention is GE. GE has been very strong here, and it didn't take a look. I don't know what happened here, but the stock recovered nicely, and in the past weeks, really mostly green, as you could see here. And on the sell of the market, the stock didn't really. It did gap up. Sorry, it did gap down with the opening, as the news came 1 hour before the market opened. So it followed the whole market, but it did close higher than it opened at the high. So something is cooking in GE. I wouldn't be surprised if we hear some fundamental news that caused the stock to be strong. It looks very strong here. It didn't sell with the market at all. And I like to see these things. I like to see strong stocks on the weak market. When the market turns around, those are the first runners. And vice versa. If the market is strong and the stocks are selling, something's wrong there. So when the market turns negative, those stocks fall the most usually. So that's GE. Intel. Big story in Intel. The stock's been really suffering a lot. And they just announced, I think this week, they cutting the dividends by 65%, but by 2/3. So I just thought to myself, stocks like Intel, a lot of people, they just keep them and pass them through generations. And most of those people, they're just happy with dividends. And imagine you would pay it certain dividends per share, and now it's cut by 65%. So no brainer that they might start or already started dumping the stock. And take a look, the stock's been really suffering. It's at the low. We are at the level of 2015, below even that. So we are at 2014 level. We're talking about 9 years ago. Let's see. I'm just curious where we are. We hit these lows recently, and that means we broke to this low of 2015, the August, and we touched this past week. We touched the level of March 2014. Yeah, exactly. Almost exactly 9 years. That is crazy. So it just tells you something, right? Maybe, again, just my personal observation, maybe this is the real situation in technology, and the rest of it is just selling dreams, because Intel, as you know, pretty much majority of computers having Intel chip in it. Now Apple is doing their own, and others are also kind of growing, but Intel is a big part of the technology game. So that's what it is. Intel is selling. Speaking of the games, I'd like to bring NVIDIA. It's not on MT4, so I brought the MT5 here. Take a look at the stock. Stock went up. There's a lot of things going on. Some are mentioning the artificial intelligence, that a lot of technology of NVIDIA is being used. And I found another fact here that the new video card RTX 4090, it's really selling off. It's very popular for gamers, and they just raised the price of the stock to 250. So as you could see, NVIDIA is trying to recover. I mean, if you see the past history, I'm not going to go this far, but back in 2021, the stock was at 345. So 250, it's not the best, not the limit. And if the stock chooses to go higher, it might. So a lot of demand for the product of NVIDIA. So unlike Intel, the stock is popular lately. As you can see, even on the selling market, the stock has been making recent highs. So that's as far as NVIDIA. Now, Pfizer, we spoke about Pfizer. I'm going to bring it up again. It's at the very interesting point here. As you could see, this is the weekly chart. We came to the support of October 2022, and this is a very key level. Just to remind you, they were saying that Pfizer has a lot of things in pipeline, not just COVID related, but other products, and they said that it could be a good time to buy. A lot of analysts were saying it, but the stock is really selling. So we came to this support. This is the daily chart now, and let's see if we're holding this support. And if you take a monthly chart, if we're not holding this support, we might actually slide to 40, even below 40. So we're just breaking now on the monthly chart, the 50 moving average. We might go lower here. So we'll be watching Pfizer. Facebook or Meta, it's been correcting a little bit here from this spike to the upside. He actually didn't sell that much on the sell-off on the market. So maybe it's finding support here. We'll be watching Facebook as well. Another thing that caught my attention on this fall in the market, the banks didn't really sell off. In the past 3 days, they were in green. Goldman, JP Morgan. JP Morgan is probably the strongest, stronger than Goldman. It's been really, really holding these highs. So it's worth watching it. Bank of America. So JP Morgan as a key bank here. We've been sitting here in the weekly chart facing the 100 moving average here. And the daily chart looks very nice. We made the high, and it was a correction, and we rewrote the new high, and then again. So very strong. We'll be watching banks and see how they will be reacting to the next move of the Fed. Let's move to commodities, and again, I just want to bring this to you again. The 10-year yields were really strong, making the highs. So we'll start with gold, as gold reacted to it. And of course, just to remind you, Friday announcement or the numbers for the expenditure that I mentioned earlier. So gold went down the whole week pretty much. And this is the daily chart. We're up below 100 moving average, and we're on the way to test the 1804, 1800 psychological level. Let's see what happens. If the yields continue to rise and we hear new things from the Feds and more hawkish things, the gold might hit this 1800 really quick and then retest it and see what's next. Maybe we'll bounce from here, or maybe we'll just go lower. Let's take a look here. We broke the 50-day average, 100-day average, and if we continue lower, we might actually go and retest the 200. Platinum also sold out. Take a look. One session, we just erased 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The same thing. 7 sessions just erased, and we are holding this level around here, around what is it? 906, 907. Let's see if it holds for those that trade platinum. Palladium, I mentioned it, I think, 2 weeks in a row. We said last week that we might hold certain support. We didn't, but here we are really at the interesting level, and it's a historical low here that was back in March 2020, almost 3 years ago. Take a look. I like to see these things. So the low here is 1354.90. And the low here is 1353.20. $1.70 shy. Well, actually, it went below by dollar and it bounced, and it looks very nicely here on the hourly chart or even 15-minute chart. Take a look how beautifully. The moment it hit that support, it happened, how many years ago we said? 3 years ago, almost. The moment it hit that level, even 5-minute chart, so beautiful. So why is it important? Again, I'm not suggesting that you just throw your orders into it. It's not a suggestion, definitely. But my point is that historical levels have tendency to really work. Take a look. 3 years later, for no reason, we in the air. If you didn't see this, right? If you just didn't see this level, say, okay, we're just falling, right? But the moment we hit this level of almost 3 years, we bounce. So beautiful. And we bounce a lot, 1359, 1354.9. So 1355 we hit, and then we went about $40 higher on the same day. Beautiful. Just wanted to bring it up. So that's as far as metals. They're really selling silver, selling as well. Let's see if we find any levels here. It's in the air. You can actually take a look. Actually, what's happening here? This is the weekly chart. Daily chart, we just went below 200 moving average. So it's been really selling intense since we had this double top at around 24.5. So silver is selling. So we established on this strong dollar, the metals are falling. And the truth is, all the commodities are falling. The only commodity that went up on Friday and Thursday and Friday, there were energy, the crude oil and natural gas. So crude oil went up after the recent sell-off, and natural gas at 3 sessions in a row. So let's take a quick look at them. But before that, I just wanted to continue with things that we spoke about last week. Coffee, 2 sessions down after this nice move to the upside. Let's see if this is the temporary thing. We continue higher, or we might go and retest the previous supports. We'll find out. Cocoa, very nice. Friday, big sell-off below Thursday's low. So we might continue. Some traders like to use the strategy when the close of Friday is lower than the close on Thursday, then the Monday, it might be a continuation to the same direction. So we'll be watching that. And really quick, wheat, it actually broke the previous support. We're on the way to maybe retest the 200 moving average on the weekly chart. Daily, we're just in the air. Corn as well. Corn is actually at the good situation here. There's a chance that this support will hold. As from here, we made a higher high. So around 248, 249, we might see the support. Let's see what the group does in general. And soybeans actually is the strongest out of 3, out of wheat, corn, and soybeans. So wheat is the weakest, corn in the middle, soybeans is the strongest. Okay, so let's go to energy. We'll wrap it up, the commodities with energy. Crude oil went up on Thursday and Friday. Similar idea. Friday closed about Thursday. Some traders use it as a direction for Monday. Let's see if that holds. We made a higher low here, so we might actually continue higher, maybe retest the 50 moving average, which is currently around 77.84, and maybe further. And if we do break through them, we'll be facing the resistance around $80 or maybe higher. So that's crude oil. Now, natural gas is a very, very interesting situation here. Now, if you remember, I mentioned this channel. We were sitting there for a while, and it looked like we found the bottom, but we didn't. We broke below, and that was on the 17th, and then we had a bunch of days opening and closing below that channel. And then on Thursday, we moved into the channel again, and Friday we continue. We closed at the highs. The high is 258.3. The close is 257.9. It's like a fracture of a penny. And now the next step is to retest the highs of this channel, which probably around 260 or 262. If we do break through this, it's going to be a powerful move to the upside, because there was a lot of accumulation here and failed breakdown. So the buyers might step out, step in to buying it more, and of course, the sellers that were selling at the bottom of this channel might be really sitting with the stop loss orders at the top of the channel, that it might trigger and create more power to the upside. So potentially, if we do break through this 260, we might continue higher, and the 50 moving average at this point is around 306. So maybe psychological level of 3 is possible here. Again, a lot of fights here, failed breakdown that it didn't really follow with the impulse. And right after this sell-off on Tuesday, I believe, the 21st, the next day was a green day. And then the 2 consecutive days closing at the highs, it looks like the buying power is coming in. So we'll be watching natural gas definitely the upcoming week. It's going to be very interesting to watch. Now let's go into currencies. And again, about the 10-year yields really added a lot of fire to dollar. We just broke through 105. We closed almost in the highs. The high was 105 and a quarter. We closed 105.18, 7 cents lower at the highs, you can say. So we might see continuation as the worries about the Fed's next moves is really growing and building up for more aggressive actions from the Feds. And of course, all the majors really sold. Australian dollar, strong sell-off. Take a look. Just broke through all the moving averages, and let's see what this week brings. We could be finding support. We could be continue selling based on the weekly chart. There's nothing that's holding it here, pretty much. New Zealand dollar, 4 straight weeks to the downside. We just hit and bounce off 200 moving average. So sometimes the averages work. Take a look. We hit exactly 200 moving average, and then we bounced. So that's New Zealand dollar. Yen is going to be definitely in the play until the appointment of the new governor of Bank of Japan. And of course, when he takes position in April, I think it's April 8th, everybody will be watching. He's going to have a lot of pressure on him. So, so far, Yen has been weak. And as we said, he's going to be having a speech even before being appointed. So we might see some actions from the yen. And meanwhile, we are on the way higher. And maybe around 137, we might face resistance. If not, we might go and retest the next moving average, which was currently 137.84. And these are the levels of resistance. So between 137 and 138, we might be seeing some fights between the buyers and the sellers. Euro just broke 100 moving average. Some analysts said we'll be holding around 106. Apparently we didn't. 105.44 closed. Pound also on the move down, and it looks a little bit scary here. Take a look. I like to analyze a little bit here. So we had the double top, we couldn't break it. First time we hit it after the recovery from the lows here, 103. Imagine where it was back in September, 103.41. So we came all the way here. We touched the high of 124.45. Then we had few attempts to break through it. We couldn't. Then dollar regained strength. We came lower. We bounced from 119.60. Recently, we just retested that level here. And we are below that. So I just want to draw this level here. This is where we stop the correction. So we are at current levels. Why did I say it looks scary? We sold out and it looks like we're changing the trend as we're making higher highs, higher lows. After this correction to the upside, we turned around, we made lower low, a lower high, lower low, lower high, and about to make a lower low. We might turn into the downtrend again. So British pound is really the sensitive situation here. USD CAD, even on the strong oil, but the strength of a dollar overpowered it, so we had to move to the upside on Friday, and we hit this previous spike. Let's take a look. This spike here back in January was 136.63, and this was 136.64 by 1 pip. Interesting. So at least we know that somebody's selling here. We couldn't break it here, and we just couldn't break it here again. So we'll be watching what's next. And dollar Swiss had a nice move above the previous resistance. If you remember in the previous sessions, I said that dollar Swiss is going to shoot up. It was holding around these levels for too long. We just broke through the previous resistance here around 0.94. We closed 0.9409, and we also broke through the 100 moving average. From here, if we continue with the strength of a dollar, we might be coming and retesting the previous resistance around 0.9546. That's about 150, 140 pips from now. So we'll be watching that. And the last one I just want to bring, that USD ZAR, it's been super strong here. We are facing resistance around here, around 18.5. We closed at 18.42. And if you take a look, the weekly chart looks very nice. Some would actually call it a cup and holder formation. It's like old school things. You have a cup and a holder. So if you break over here, we might have a robust move to the upside. And the monthly charts looks also very nicely. Here you have a clear cup and holder. Again, I don't like these things because you can easily be subjective and really see what you want to see. But this is a classical cup and holder. Will it work? No. Or yes, we don't really know. But if it does, the way it measures, actually, they take the bottom of the cup to the top and extend it to the top. So that could be a tremendous move to the upside. Everything's possible. In any event, this is the third attempt to break it. We had 1, 2, and 3 after a short sell-off. So it looks very bullish on USD ZAR. And so that's it with Forex, and then let's wrap it up with our favorite quote-unquote Bitcoin. If you remember, I said we're between 22.5 and 25.5. We did have a nice attempt to break through 25. We couldn't, and we back at 23, as Bitcoin is super sensitive to what's happening especially with the dollar and definitely with equity markets. So that's it pretty much, my friends. And again, just to summarize things in a few sentences, we had Friday, the number that the Feds are paying very close attention to. That's the core personal consumption expenditure. It was month to month and year to year, especially. They were higher than expected. That was just another round of data that shows that inflation is not giving up. So the Feds, the whole mood of the Feds is continuing to be hawkish, and that's what translates into sell-off in the market, up run in US dollar, and the sell-off in commodities, especially gold. We have energy is the only commodity sector that actually went higher. That's oil and specifically natural gas. We should be watching for possible turnaround and continuation to the upside. And a few stocks we spoke about: NVIDIA, positive; Intel, not so. And we'll have a few announcements this week that we went through. And let's see what we hear from Feds, what news are coming up from specific companies, and in general, what geopolitical news are showing. There's a lot of tension between China and US. There's a war, unfortunately, still going on with Russia and Ukraine. They just imposed, I think, the 10th round of sanctions on Russia. So a lot of things are happening, and I wish everyone to enjoy and get some energy over the weekend. And I wish you a great and successful week. All the best. We'll be back next week. Take care.